It's time for Remodel Revolution. And now, an award-winning contractor with over 40 years experience. Here is Alex Guthrie.
Welcome to another episode of Remodel Revolution. I'm your host, Alex Guthrie, coming to you from our temporary world headquarters here at Remodel Revolution, but still from deep in the heart of the great state of Texas. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're healthy. I hope you're dealing with this pandemic well. It's getting kind of crazy out there, but I think we'll all get through it just fine very soon. I'm very confident. Hey, I've been working on some interviews from all around the country. I've got great information. I have fantastic guests, and let's just get on with it right now and get started with this show. The hardest working and arguably most important system in our homes is our air conditioning and heating system. It heats the air, it cools the air, and it filters the air. That's why it's so critical to have it checked and maintained by the very best professionals available. It's time to contact Total Air and Heat at totalair.com. Get that system pruned and tuned. If you want to have the very best experience, you've got to hire the very best company. Total Air's employees are honest, well-trained, and thoroughly background checked. I never have to worry about sending their technicians out to my clients' homes. Family owned and operated for 3 generations, Total Air and Heat has been a fixture in North Dallas for over 60 years. Total Air is a proud dealer of the Trane air conditioning systems, and you know how hard it is to stop a Trane, so give them a call at 972-881-0020. That's 972-881-0020, or contact them at totalair.com today. I'm here with my friend Jamie Gold. Jamie is has a design system that I'd never heard of until a year or so ago, called Wellness Design. And Wellness Design is encompassing all sorts of different philosophies, and she's got a 5-point system that she goes by to sort of determine and help guide her down her path of design. And she is also an author. I've seen her in Forbes magazine, Remodel magazine, all kinds of places. I see Jamie quoted all the time. It's usually when I'm reading something and I go, man, that's brilliant. And I go, who's the author of that? I go, oh, it's Jamie. And so I decided to call Jamie and ask her if she'd come on and do a segment with us today so that we can talk about COVID-19 and how to incorporate it into wellness design, or how it affects it. And she sent me an article that's an 18 points or 18 ideas of things to do in wellness design. And a lot of it has to kind of revolves around COVID-19. Welcome to the show, Jamie Gold. How are you?
I am great, Alex. How are you? And I love that introduction.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You.
I love it that you're in San Diego, California, because that is one of my favorite places in the whole world. It's so beautiful there.
It is. I love it here.
Yeah. So let's talk about wellness design. Explain. I was a little bit hard to describe it, but explain it better than I did.
Well, it's such a relatively new area that everyone has a different idea of what it is depending on their background. But I like to think of it as creating spaces that support the physical and emotional health of the people who use them. Could be a courthouse or a condo, could be a park or a powder room, but it's all about creating spaces that work well for the people who are going to be there. So that's kind of the overarching, simple definition of wellness design.
That's really, really interesting. I love the whole concept of it, and I love the way it works with a lot of what we've been talking about the last really 10, 15 years, which is universal design and, designing more practical for people that aren't young and healthy
Yeah.
necessarily. And, we're sort of, I like thinking of it as a kid could come in and do anything an adult could do, let's say in a kitchen. They can reach the things that need to be reached. Now, if you have a lot of kids, you may think, Alex, that's crazy. But the design concept is that it's ease of access and comfort.
Mm-hmm. And that's absolutely true. You want a place to be as safe for your toddler as it is for an older person in your home. I mean,
Right.
that's one of what I call the 5 facets of wellness design.
So let's go down those 5 facets.
Well, sure. The first one is health and fitness. You want a space that and features that support your health and fitness. So, for example, that could be a combi steam oven. It could be a handheld massaging shower head. It could be a bidet style toilet or blackout coverings for your bedroom windows. Those all in some way support health and fitness.
It's things like having maybe cross handles that you don't have to like grip.
Well, that's accessibility.
That's
I
accessibility.
put that one in accessibility. So
Okay.
you are thinking ahead. That's the third facet of wellness design.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The second one is safety and security, which is something that we are all concerned with right now as we're spending so much time at home. And how can we make that as safe a place as possible? You've got maybe your college student and your elementary school kid studying from home. You've got your spouse now working from home. And you've got all these extra bodies in the place at one time. So a safety and security feature would be eliminating trip hazards, adding air purification, adding, making sure your smoke detectors are working, or adding a carbon monoxide and radon detector, things like that.
And I think the air purification and things like that are really, really critical when we're loading up our houses. Yeah.
We're on Zoom right now, and Zoom is being used by more people than ever, and there have already been security issues with it. And another aspect of safety and security is protecting your privacy and your data networks.
Oh, yeah.
So what can you do to keep things out of your personal information? That would be another aspect. You mentioned safety for toddlers, safety for seniors, universal design. Those overlap with accessibility. And then they also tie into functionality so that anyone can use the space. The cross handles and some of these fancy faucets are hard to operate if your hands are wet or if you have Parkinson's.
Exactly.
So those fit into those areas. And the fifth one, which is probably my favorite, is comfort and joy. And who couldn't use that right now, right?
No kidding. No kidding.
So it's hard to do that at the moment because you're not going to suddenly build Cheryl's she shed, right?
Right.
And you're not going to create your man cave at the moment, but you can create spaces with elements that you love, and you can create a quiet zone, and you can bring in plants that just enhance your well-being overall.
That's
and there
a
are
great
things
idea.
you can do to add comfort and joy. And
That
when
is
you
a
are doing the
fantastic
remodel,
idea.
you want to build that in. And you might do it on a much larger scale then.
Right.
Steam showers and flotation tubs and towel warmers and radiant floor heating.
All those things you've denied yourself for all those years.
Oh, you know how many people are going to want those things after this cycle ends?
You are not kidding. You are not kidding.
That's why my publisher moved my book to September. I'm sure of it. Like, well, Jamie, everyone's going to be thinking about how to improve their homes after this is, beyond phase one.
I think they probably are. I'm already starting to get phone calls, and none of them are coming from divorce court.
Yet.
That's right. That's right. Well, you have this article that I want to put up here on the share screen, and we'll talk about that for a sec.
Sure.
And it is right here. 18 healthy home tips for your COVID-19 quarantine.
Yes, sir.
let's start with, we'll just start it with the whole house tips.
Okay.
And we have, now this is some things we've already covered, you've already covered
Mhm.
for us. And that's the
Mhm.
number one is trip hazards and loose rugs. Loose rugs are a big deal. They're a big deal. They're even a big deal really for anybody.
Anybody. But if you are older, a fall could be much, much more dangerous.
Hmm. My wife,
Toddlers do it all day, right? I
my
mean, that's how
wife,
they learn to walk.
well, of course, yeah. And my wife and I have a ottoman in front of where we sit and watch TV now 20 hours a day. And of course, we have all of our electronic devices on the ottoman, and they've all got cords coming to them. And half the time you stand up and it's like getting your foot caught in spaghetti. So, yeah, you got to be careful. Pet bowls in high traffic areas, slippery floors. If the pet's drinking and there's slopping water on the floor.
That is true. And I read something recently that seniors are often tripped up by tripping over the pets themselves.
Sure.
That's
Sure.
not fun for either of them.
No.
But if you have their pet bowl in an area where they're not in the main traffic area, that's less likely to happen. And there's no cost involved in making that change, not in making any of those changes.
Move the
I
pet
don't want to
bed
hurt your
out of the
income,
way.
Alex, but
Yeah.
I want to protect my readers too.
Yeah, exactly right. Of course. Okay. Indoor air quality is vital right now because, like you say, you're bunching up all of these people in this enclosed area and we're all breathing each other's air.
And if you're expanding in living areas, for example, in basements, which maybe you only used once a month before that, or once a week, but now you're converting that into a home office for someone. That's a prime potential radon zone.
Radon and mold. You've
That
got,
too.
yeah.
Especially if you've got a shower down there.
I
So
love
those
this.
are things to think about.
Yeah, exactly. And that gets into where you also have in in your notes here, making sure that your air is your air fans are working. Your
Make sure your ventilation is
circulating.
working.
Thank you. Ventilation fans are working.
Safety and security, sir. Safety and security. I want to point up one more before you go.
Okay.
Number 3. Something that people can do even while they're quarantined, if they have DIY skills, is to replace their standard light switches with hands-free versions. Because that's going to eliminate a shared touchable surface. And touching is one of the ways that this virus is spread.
Right. And you had also,
the more you can put in touch-free, the better it is.
And that's an interesting, isn't that a wonderful thing in the technology that we have available to us now that we didn't have before? Because now you have faucets and light switches and virtually anything can be activated, turned on or off, hands-free. A lot of it can be done by
voice control too.
Voice control, yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, and this is all available technology. So you don't have to have even really a smart home, although that would be nice, but you can actually run. I don't like to type. Now I know you must be awesome at the keyboard because you just wrote a book. And
I wrote book number 3.
Book number 3. Okay. Well, my big impediment with finishing my books is my lousy typing skills. But now I can do it all by voice. Hey, it's pretty awesome.
That is pretty awesome. I wanted to incorporate things here that people could do now.
Sure.
There's a couple like, replacing your light switches that you need to have a little bit of a DIY skill. But adding a hands-free soap dispenser doesn't require any skill. And reducing trip hazards doesn't require any skill, and those are also low cost or free.
I love the next one. Check your kitchen's vent hood to make sure it's working properly. In a lot of these newer homes that are built so tight, we have two issues. One is having enough air actually in the house for a vent hood to work properly. Sometimes you have to crack a window. And then the other thing is, again, going back to that air being filtered out properly and get good fresh air exchange in your house to keep you healthy is becoming a bigger issue. If you're making more meals at home, consider adding a portable induction burner. Listen, I've got to tell you this. I have 2 induction burners. I absolutely love them. Now, my wife will cook on the grill outside before she'll get around that induction burner for some reason, but I love that thing. And I started it at my little trailer at the lake because it's just so easy. But now I cook with it. Like if I want to cook a steak and I want to get a pan really hot, and I take that little burner, put it outside, and they're fantastic. I love that. That's great.
I love the cooktops too, but you're probably not going to change that right now. But if you fall in love with the burner, you might look at doing a whole induction cooktop when you decide to redo your kitchen. And if you have children, if you have seniors, it's a safer option. And it's pretty high performance too.
Move papers, backpacks, and other non-essential items out of your kitchen's work zones. Countertops where you chop vegetables, ingredients to create a safer, more hygienic, and efficient and more pleasant setting for meal prep. Now, I will tell you, this is really interesting because I have, and this is what happens when 2 people that have lived together for 40 years all of a sudden are living together 24/7, right? I eat a big fresh salad every night that I make it myself, and I will spend 30 minutes making that salad and making the dressing and all of that. And it makes my wife crazy because she wants to cook, and she likes her cooking to be done in 15 minutes, the whole meal.
I'm more like your wife, I have to say. The simpler it is, the happier I am. But what I'm getting asked about, by people writing articles is, well, what happens if you have to work in your kitchen? What happens if you have to homeschool in your kitchen? And my suggestion always is give each person their own bin or basket that's clearly theirs and theirs alone for their papers and their supplies that they can move out of the kitchen area or out of the shared area when they're done.
That's a great idea.
You don't want papers flying around, especially near a gas cooktop, especially when you're dealing with, sanitizing your countertops every couple hours or more often. So the less you have to shuffle, the less you have to move, the fewer things people are touching that aren't theirs, the better, the more hygienic.
Well, and I noticed that when I'm like vegetables, I'm cleaning my vegetables a lot more. And I'm not that I didn't clean them before, but I'm just more aware of it now. I just make sure everything's been rinsed off really good. But it's not just the vegetables, it's the bag the vegetables come in. It's everything. It's everything you touch. And that's where the mindset has to change. And you're right, that takes countertop, that takes counter space for sure.
It does. And our homes are going to evolve with this type of situation. People are going to want things that are just easier to maintain, take less of their time, or more worry-free. And that is going to shape choices that we all make after this. I've always been wired that way. I would much rather spend my time outdoors, hiking or running or doing something fun, than getting a Q-tip out and cleaning cabinet fronts because they're, elaborately carved. I just don't want to do it. Nor do I want to spend time keeping a high gloss lacquer finish, in pristine condition.
And most people won't do that. And my experience in remodeling houses all my life, where I've had to put these things together for people, is that at the end of the day, it sounds really great right at first. And then somewhere along the line, maybe 5 years, 10 years later, you look at it and go, man, why did I do that?
Mhm.
So,
And that's a conversation that professionals need to be having with clients.
absolutely. I totally agree with that. So your next tip, we're into the bathrooms.
Hmm.
And this one I really like. And
I don't
I've
know you
used,
that well, Alex. Come on.
and I don't even have a camera in mine. Um, the I love this next tip is making sure that the ventilation is a sensor fan. I've done this for people, and of course you could do now a lot of people do with lights as well as fans, but you
Mm.
can use a motion sensor so that when you walk into the bathroom, and of course a silent fan, you won't even know it's on. So you walk into the bathroom or the potty room, wherever you're going, and it automatically comes on. You're not having to touch it. And now if, how do I say this? How am I sensitive about this? If you're in there longer than the sensor is keeping it on,
Mm.
wave your hand at it or something.
No. Well, that's why I like the ones that are humidity sensing.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
and that's more for a shower tub setup, so
Mhm.
that if there's moisture in the air, it's going to activate automatically. And you're right,
Yeah.
it's quiet, so you can have a conversation over it if you're talking to someone in the bedroom and you're, in the bathroom. And you don't have to touch it, which is a benefit I hadn't even thought of, but you're right, that's one less touch point. You don't have to think about it. It's just, it does what it needs to do when it needs to do it.
Mhm. Um, I use because, like you say, we're doing these big bathrooms with these big showers that have all this stuff in them. We're using tons of steamy water in these bathrooms, and so we'll put a big fan in the center of a 180 CFM fan in the center of the bathroom ceiling. No lights or anything, just a fan, and we'll put a humidistat. Of course, the interesting thing when you purchase them, you can make that call. You can do a sensor, a sensor that motion sensor, or you can do a humidistat. And then
Mhm.
sometimes, if you need to, you can actually have all that can still go to a switch, so that you can turn it off if you want to for some reason. So,
And a motion sensor makes sense for a powder room or a
yes.
water closet, whereas the humidistat makes sense for a tub shower area.
Well,
And
I have a doctor client, and I redid their bathroom, and I talked him into doing the motion sensor in the potty room because he goes, I get calls in the middle of the night and I have to leave. I don't want to wake the wife up. And I go, and then he calls me back a couple months later. He said, he said, it keeps turning off before I'm finished. I go, well, you're not going to get lost in that little potty room. Don't worry about that.
I don't like motion sensor lighting.
Uh-huh.
I
Okay.
generally don't. The last thing you want is a face full of light for a midnight bathroom trip.
Well, that's right. I mean, you're absolutely right about that.
I'm
If
a
more
big
than
fan
one
of
child,
circadian lighting.
if more than one child shares a bathroom, provide each one with a toothbrush, drinking cup, and towel in his or her favorite color. That's a great idea. That's a great idea.
Pretty much
Personalize it.
similar to the home, to the study, homeschooling and
Mm-hmm.
work from home. The idea is the same.
Uh-huh.
But kids are so color oriented. I like blue, I love red, and then they don't forget which one is theirs.
Yeah. And then we're back to the hands-free faucet for the faucet, and of course that should probably go wherever you've got a faucet. That's a great
Hmm.
idea. The other thing that is wonderful about the plumbing we get now is that you can put a temperature control on showers. I don't know. I'm assuming you can do it on faucets. I've never had anybody ask me to do it. I'm sure you can, but you can put a temperature control in there so you don't scald yourself. Nobody scalds themselves. Um, Hands-free soap dispenser is a super great idea.
No installation required. Bidet, don't pass up the bidet style toilet seat.
Oh,
With all
sorry, I
these
missed
TV
that one.
shortages, I don't know what's up with that, but this could help. And
I
that's a, bigger
figured out
project,
the
as you know.
toilet. I asked my wife today, I said, what is up with the toilet paper? I don't get it. Uh, but I have put, of course, I've put the bidet style toilet seats in, and the only people that have commented about them to me were the men, and they love them.
Women do too.
But
And people, you said you like to ride a bicycle, right?
yes, yeah.
It's so much gentler than paper when you've been riding for
When
hours.
you're chafed and
Uh-huh.
yeah, no kidding. I'm telling you, I think that I think it's the amazing thing is that you can actually switch them out now. I saw one recently. I guess you still have to put in a power source for them, but I don't know if there isn't some now that have an alternate power source. I'm not sure yet.
I
Toilet.
I don't know, but it's likely that one would happen soon. I don't personally like the idea of cold water.
Yeah.
So
Well,
don't,
that'll get you up in the morning.
well,
Get you up
this
for
is
that
true.
early morning run. So now we're in the work study area. If more than a user is going to be sharing a desk, consider an adjustable chair, lamp, or desk riser so each can work or study ergonomically. Let's talk about that.
Sure. Well, I'm going to go out on a limb. I haven't met her, but I'm going to guess that you and your wife are different sized people.
Yeah, she's half my size in
Okay.
all aspects.
Okay. So is a chair that's going to fit you going to work as well for her?
Well, that's a great question.
So
That's a
one that's
great question.
adjustable can
Hmm.
work for both of you. If
Hmm.
you have to share a desk space, a riser that can raise your computer to the comfortable viewing height for either person.
Hmm.
Or if you're going to be using it by yourself and you want to be able to work standing up, an adjustable desk or an adjustable riser makes that possible.
Absolutely.
More movement in your day.
And
Adjustable lamp, same, it illuminates the work surface better. Don't depend on the lamp in the middle of the ceiling that's going to be behind you in most instances to provide the light you need to do the work you want to do.
and as we get older and we're trying to light, speaking of lighting, and we are trying to sort of fill in the dark spots with light, different height lighting, as I have found as I've gotten older, and particularly when I'm working at my desk, I need a varying height of light. I really do, because otherwise I'm always, my eyes are constantly trying to refocus, and like the rest of me, they don't refocus as fast as they used to.
And it probably depends on what type of work you're doing too, where you want it and how high and how intense.
Well,
So
and
just adjustability.
we're all sitting here now. Most of us are sitting here with this little phone in our hand, scrolling through that phone all day, and our eyes are tired. I've noticed that I talk to people all the time. People are getting headaches and they're having to get reading glasses, and I think a lot of it has to do with the 10 hours a day you sit there and scroll through that phone and look at that little screen. It's not easy.
Entirely likely.
Mhm.
It's certainly possible.
Give each user a bin or basket with his or her favorite color to hold files and papers. That's super. I like the way that you organize with color, and I think that makes a ton of sense, and especially for the kids. And I like personalizing. I had a client, we did her kitchen, and I went in there after we were about to tile the backsplash, and the night before, well, it wasn't the night before, at some point she had her kids, they took a bunch of unfinished tiles, and each kid put their handprints on them, or they did little designs on them, put their name and the date, and she took the tiles and this is a service somebody provided in Dallas, and they glazed the tile, and then we put it in the backsplash, and it was really,
Personalization.
it was
Comfort and
precious.
joy, my friend. Comfort and joy.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. I thought that was the coolest thing. If you can set your work or study space in a room with a view to any natural elements, that is super, super important. Super important. Bring the outside in. Absolutely. And then this is my favorite part, because this is how I like to spend my day. And I think you're exactly the same as I am here. I like being outside. You know,
Yes.
I've got to have some fresh air. It just has to happen. I can't exercise in a gym. It makes me crazy. I got to be out on my bicycle or in my kayak or just walking if that's what I have to do.
Yeah. Connecting to nature has health benefits galore. It really does. And if you have to work in your home office all day, or your improvised home office, and you can look out a window at trees,
Mm-hmm.
or step out onto a balcony or a deck or a porch or a patio, that's just going to help you out physically and
I've
emotionally.
started feeding the birds and squirrels so that I can sit and watch them out there, and now they've all got names.
Friends for life.
It just brings me comfort and makes me feel alive. It really does. And so let's talk about your book. You are amazing, and the name of the book is A Room by Room Guide to Optimizing Your Home for Health, Fitness, and Happiness.
Starting with Wellness by Design.
Starting with Wellness by Design, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How I'm going to take us off of this share screen. There we are. Tell me about how long have you been working on this book, and what was the process like writing and getting published? Now, this is your third book.
This is my third book. And my first two books were with a different publisher. And they had the ideas for these books and wanted them written and updated. So I did that, and I enjoyed the process and gotten respectable writing habits for that.
Mm-hmm.
And having two books under your belt makes it easier to get a third. But when you're talking about wellness design, something not a lot of people know about, it took a while to convince an agent and convince a publisher. So I started pitching the idea because I experienced this myself. I mean, I organize my home this way, and I accessorize my home this way, and I live this way. I don't want to be fussing with things that I don't have to fuss with. I'd rather be having fun. So that was kind of the genesis of the idea, and it goes back to late 2016, and got a publishing contract last year. Started writing it last summer, and we were supposed to publish in May, and then this pandemic hit. So bookstores are closed, and Amazon's shipping essentials rather than books. I disagree that books aren't essential, but that's a whole other conversation. But this comes from my own experience as a designer, as a person who is active, who is turning 60 this year, and I want to be as safe and healthy and happy as I can. And I know there are millions of other people in the same position. So I voted for us. I really did.
My big life awakening was at 59, when I I froze. I go, wow, I'm about to be 60. And I've often talked about it, because 30 and 40 didn't bother me. 50 didn't bother me. I didn't care. I still felt great, and I was really active. But somehow 60 scared the heck out of me, and I started exercising regularly. I lost 100 pounds. I did all kinds of really good things over a 3-4 year period. And I'll tell you, I love your thought process, and I certainly can relate to it, because the thing is, we are so much healthier now at our age than our previous generations. And a lot of us still feel like, I seriously think I'm in better shape than a lot of my 37-year-old son's friends. I don't abuse myself
I don't
nearly as
doubt it.
bad.
I don't doubt it. When you start seeing things like hypertension in young people, you
Yeah.
know they've got to make changes. This book isn't about that, but even though it's written for people like us in our age range, there are also tips in every chapter for somebody who's just starting out, for somebody who might be renting an apartment as opposed to owning a home. So there are things in there that they can use too, because in my opinion, too much of the whole wellness conversation is the wealthness conversation. And it
Interesting.
should be for everyone.
Explain wealthness. Explain that.
Well, I just sort of toss that out, but you look at wellness communities, and they tend to be very expensive housing developments with beautiful features, and that's wonderful. I take nothing away from that. But somebody who doesn't have $1 million plus to spend on a house doesn't get those features. And that doesn't mean that they should live in an unhealthy, unsafe environment. And it doesn't mean that they should not be able to enjoy the 5 facets of wellness design. So I want to make it possible for somebody starting out in their starter home or in their forever home to take advantage of what's in this book.
And your tips are real practical, I think. I mean, that's the one thing that it's easier for me to read. It's easy for me to understand, and it's relatable, and it's all doable because it's all there. We're not talking about reinventing the wheel. We're talking about things that are in the marketplace that you can use that often, like you said, if you have a little bit of handyman skills or handy girl skills, you can make some of these changes yourself. I would never encourage anybody to do electrical, but I would plumbing and stuff like that. You know, what's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to get wet.
Yeah. Well, it may not be you with the skills, but somebody else in your house.
That's
perhaps.
right. Somebody.
And when it's safe to have more people come in, you could trade your baking skills for their electrical skills or things along that line.
That's
Again,
very practical. Yeah.
I think, and I come from a really practical point of view. It's, it's just how I've always been.
Well, you're an amazing lady. You are so amazing, and I always love talking to you. You're just a joy. I really do. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate all the things that you do and your wonderful advice. Your well thought out, practical advice. I really do appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Alex. And please let your listeners, or viewers, I should say, know that they can find out more about the book, and they can download that free home quarantine tips at jamiegold.net.
Okay, I'll do that.
Now, if they're interested, they can pre-order the book and be entered to win an anti-fatigue mat to make meal prep so much more comfortable.
Oh, okay. I'll get right on that myself today.
Good. So jamiegold.net is my website. All this info is there. It's easy to find. It's practical, as you say. And let's do this again in September.
I look forward to it. And we're going to talk about the book. That's what we're going to talk about in September after I've read it.
Well, I want everyone to be healthy and safe at this time.
And we wish the same for you. And thank you so much for taking time out for us today. It's been an absolute joy. Thank you so much.
Likewise. Thank you, Alex.
Okay. Sometimes it's a question of do I call or don't I call the foundation repair company? Well, what if I tell you that I know a foundation repair company that will tell you if you don't need foundation repair? That's right. Hargrave and Hargrave Foundation Repair has been in business for over 50 years, and they know the difference. One of the last family-owned foundation repair businesses in North Texas. Not only are they honest, they know what causes your foundation to move, and they know how to fix it. Don't be duped by night foundation companies that provide shortcuts and messy fixes. Call Hargrave and Hargrave Foundation Repair at 972-442-3415 at the first sign of trouble. Hargrave uses the Chance helical pier system exclusively because it's the highest quality, most reliable helical pier money can buy. 972-442-3415 or contact them at hargravefoundation.com.
The views and opinions of this program are for educational and entertainment purposes only and are not intended to replace the recommendations of a hired professional.
You can catch Remodel Revolution anytime. Follow the show on the website, remodelrevolutionradio.com, or on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest, using the handle at Remodel Revolution Radio. You can always listen to the show on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and TuneIn, and watch the show anytime on YouTube.